reporting, and what does that mean for us as Christians? Well, I don't really necessarily know because I really don't read the publication at all. But I've been doing some looking into it, and I'm going to give you some impressions from me as a very much a novice entering um, this world of Christian journalism on a national stage, I guess. And who am I to talk to about this? Well, again, novice. I'm also a nobody. My name is Stuart Davis. I'm a deacon at a small church just outside of Richmond, Virginia. I'm not trying to get you to join my congregation, donate to any special cause, but what I am trying to offer you is exposure to what I consider to be thoughts and impressions of an average Christian. Um, I think that there's a lot of impressions that people have that about us as Christians that might be false or just through that inexperience. But um, one of the things I want to do is kind of give my thoughts and feelings when the topic of Christianity comes up. And one of the things I saw was on the Drudge Report today. There was an article that was listed, and it was regarding a Christian publication. So that immediately caught my eye, and because I'm always interested to see how Christianity is being reported on the national or worldwide scale. And reading through it, I think the article was off of a New York Times article, which, when we're talking about the media at large, the secular media at large, everything has to be taken with a grain of salt. Full disclosure, I'm not going to get into politics or my personal politics in this stream. I'm going to be talking about what I feel like. Well, I guess that's a lie. I guess that's a lie because I am going to kind of talk about what I think Christianity's role in media should be in regards to reporting on politics, which I guess in and of itself is a political opinion. Anyway, so I read this article and I read through it, and what I saw was basically reporting on strife, which I feel like the media likes to do when they see that there are Christians, there's a Christian organization going through strife or is in trouble of some sort. So reading through it, like I do most news, which I trust none of it, I take it with a grain of salt, and I try to do my best to sift through what I think is actually fact reporting and what I think might be spin or opinion, because it's difficult when you have political leanings to leave them out of what you're reporting, because you do have an outcome that you expected or that you expect or that you want to get across to readers when it comes to news like this, I guess. And that's another reason why I think there's talking tonight is an important thing to touch on, and that's Christianity's role in reporting the news. So I saw this. To get more to the point, the report was an editor at World News, which is apparently a long-standing Christian publication. Like I said, I'm very much a novice at this. Um, my world of Christianity is has mostly to this point been limited to the Bible, to my local area and churches, and discussing Christianity with believers and unbelievers, not really delving into the politics of the world at large. 'Cause I do pay attention when we have mission work at our church, and what's going on with there, and how folks across the world are treated, oftentimes much worse than we are here at home. But as far as the church as a national or a worldwide organization, it just doesn't impact me that much. I'm not a pastor, and I'm not I don't travel in those circles. And like I said, I guess if you don't have if you didn't get a good impression about it, I do have a great amount of disdain for journalism, at least in the way it's practiced. in my adult life. So when I saw that, World News had an editor. This is taking me forever to get to the point. World News had an editor who has been there for a long time. I guess it made it look like he was the editor in chief. His name's Martin Olasky, and he was he's been there for a long time, and he is parting ways. He has not left there yet, but he's parting ways, and a lot of it has to do with the political direction of the publication and his personal beliefs on how the news should be reported from a Christian standpoint. And because we started to get into that, or because the article started to get into that, and it was a Times article, what I decided to do was look for other news sources. And I came back across a few, but again, you hear the way that different factions, I guess, or political beliefs are referred to, and you immediately start to see spin. So I'm trying to get the real truth of the matter as best as I can. And I came across what appears to be an article by a gentleman named Terry Mattingly, and I've never heard of this gentleman before, but that doesn't mean anything. That doesn't mean he's a nobody, but it did make me want to read what he said, and I was immediately struck by what I thought was a pretty insightful account of his thoughts on things. And he is and what I liked and appreciated about it was very refreshing in that, he's talking about what he knows to be true, what he thinks might be true, but he's very open to say, hey, this is still an open story. And we have to get, and so I did something, and maybe I'll probably need to talk about it in another stream, but I did something that I never thought I'd be doing. I started a Twitter account because I did want to reach out to him and let him know that I was referencing him, and I thought that was the best way to do it because that was the only method I found readily available to contact him. So maybe he'll read this, and if he does, hey, thanks for viewing this. Hopefully what I'm saying has some sort of effect on you. If not, sorry about it, and hopefully you don't look at me as some sort of biblical ignoramus. Like I said, I've never been to seminary. I'm not a pastor. That's not my background. What I do is I study the Bible and I get my impressions out of it. I go to church, I listen to sermons, and sometimes I take away what the pastor's trying to get across. Sometimes I take away something different because what he's saying might not have set well with me, but it also got me studying more to find out why I might disagree. And sometimes I feel I realize that I'm wrong, and sometimes I come away thinking that I've come across maybe not changing my mind, but feeling more informed because of it and challenged by that. And I think that's a good thing for you to walk away from a sermon for, because if you're not moved by a sermon in one way or the other, I don't think it really served much of a purpose to you. So again, gentleman's name is Terry Mattingly. I think the article isn't, and I posted the link below. The article isn't actually signed at the end, but I just did some investigating, just reading through what he said. And what he said was he's known Mr. Olasky for many years, so he's very open at the beginning about being a friend to one of the subjects of the articles, of these articles and this news and this event, to let him know that, yeah, he has a personal connection to this. And he's also open that they've disagreed on many things. He said, through the years, Marvin and I disagreed on many journalism issues and had some stimulating debates. And he was talking about, he was dead right. In the first years of internet life, he predicted that life in the digital world, think social media in particular, would undercut old school standards of balance and objectivity in journalism. Can't argue with that there. It seems like, at least from first standpoint, this Mr. Olasky was very insightful about the internet, and it seems that as much as I dislike and despise social media, it seems like starting this channel, the more I start to get involved in it. I can't stand it. I like seeing you guys on Facebook and whatnot, and hearing about things, but I think social media does so many bad things, and it just represents so much of the dysfunction that we see on a regular basis. But what he's talking about, he's talking about a New York Times article. The New York Times article discusses how there is a disconnect between, apparently a disconnect between World and it's this longtime editor, Mr. Olasky, and there is discussion about, or there is concern that World is becoming more beholden to Donald Trump and his politics. So, any of you guys, folks who know me, know my political leanings and my political ideas, what I feel about, what I think about, a lot of the current goings on. I'm not going to mention them because I don't think it's helpful for the conversation, and I'm not trying to push a particular issue. But what I do think, while I do have political opinions, and sometimes I feel very strongly about them, I do, for the most part, try to leave them out of my discussions about faith, about God, and about teachings of Jesus. There are some times where today's political climate does touch on things that Jesus talked about, or God's rules and teachings to us, things that we need to do to be good Christians. There are obviously going to be times where what's going on politically is going to affect us. But by and large, many of the things that are political are personal opinions of ours. So how you might feel about the current president, the previous president, the president before him, go so on and so forth, who's in control of whatever house, what ideology you're at, where you should be drawing things, your beliefs on that is secondary to what is in the Bible, which is oftentimes separate from what we believe. If you look at the establishment of Israel and the covenant that God has with us, we're initially very loosely politically, or we have a very loose operating government. We have the commandments from God and the rules that He laid down for us, and we're basically supposed to live within those boundaries. And when we have conflict or questions, we go to priests and we go to judges. That doesn't really align with a whole lot of political ideology out these days. And so odds are, however you may land on a particular issue, it's your opinion, and it's not necessarily a Christian one. It doesn't necessarily mean it's not a Christian one. I don't fall into that belief that being a Christian means the only things you should believe in are what's laid down in the Bible. There are going to be extraneous things that pop up. I think that you should always look to biblical teachings before coming up with an opinion on things. But I think that you don't need the Bible to tell you whether you want to take the interstate to get to someplace or take a back road to get there. Sometimes it just comes down to personal preference. But we let those personal preferences define us sometimes more than we let Christianity define us. And nothing has been worse for us as a society, especially as Christians, between one another, and letting our politics get the better of us, as modern day media has. And that's where I will interject some opinion on that. I do think the media, as it stands today, is not a trustworthy or reliable source to get news. I think that it is heavily dosed with opinion on both sides, and I don't think it's a place that we can go to actually get news that is gonna help us. It's not gonna help us be better people. It's not gonna help us impact the world any better than it would be if we didn't hear what was going on. In fact, an argument can be made is that it would be more beneficial to society for us to not be getting the news that we're getting. I do find that modern day mainstream media is a very much a net negative. It has a bad impact on our attitudes and how we go about our daily lives. And it's important for us to realize that because, like I said, most of y'all know me. A lot of y'all agree with me politically. And even if you don't agree with me politically, I'll take that back. Especially if you agree with me politically, you should understand. I'm not telling you that I'm wrong or you're wrong. What I'm saying is we need to remember and draw those boundaries between, um, you know, where our personal beliefs are. I'm sorry, where biblical teachings are end and our personal beliefs begin. And there's a lot of that. And maybe there's some times where um, we're letting our personal opinions and our personal political leanings affect how we understand the Bible. It's not something, it's something that we can always try to work to negate, but it doesn't mean that you are beyond salvation if you let it get the better of you. Just understand that it is a shortcoming. It is something that we should always work to do and be better at. And this is where this is a big sidebar um, to the actual story, but this is kind of where it takes us. So it takes us immediately. We're seeing conflict in the news, or conflict in the news about Christianity, about a news organization, because it revolves around specifically around Trump and some of the political topics that surround him, and folks who support him and folks that are very much against him. And it sounds like from these most of these accounts that Mr. Olasky is kind of caught in the middle here. And I don't think that he's perfect in this. And part of this is just me reading it and making an off the cuff knee jerk reaction, just saying, but I'm saying that he's probably made some mistakes, and probably perhaps let his own opinions affect his work. But nothing in here in what I'm reading makes him seem like a bad guy, or that he isn't doing good work. One of the things that he says, that Mr. Mattingly says in this, is he quotes something Mr. Olasky stated back in 1995. Liberal theory emphasizing, and this is regarding journalism, liberal theory emphasizes the balancing of subjectivities. So specific detail A, which points a reader in one direction, should be balanced by specific detail B, which points the reader in another. A pro-something statement by person X is followed by an anti-something statement from person Y. In practice, this objectivity has limitations. Reporters have never felt the need to balance anti-cancer statements with pro-cancer statements. In recent practice, secular liberal reporters have seen pro-life concerns or homophobia as cancerous, with other Christian beliefs as similarly harmful. But you should be aware that many reporters still publicly maintain their so-called objectivity. This leads to an Olasky quotation that is frequently used in features about his work. Christian reporters should give equal space to a variety of perspectives only when the Bible is unclear. Editors who see leftist evangelicals as misled should still give them a chance to respond to questions. But a solidly Christian news publication should not be balanced. Its goal should be to be provocative and evocative, colorful and gripping, Bible-based news analyst. Much of what is said there, I find, is very sensible and almost profoundly so. And this is in 1995, so this is before really the internet takes off into what we know today. This is before social media is really a thing. This is really before most people were on message boards. I think in 1995, I think I still had dial-up. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I still had dial-up internet at the time, and I wasn't even allowed to get on the internet that much because our ISP was a local long distance number. So we were getting every minute we stayed on the internet, we were absorbing local long distance charges. So my dad hated that. But I'm getting off topic. What he says here is true. And what he says here is an important thing to remember. What he says about the media is true then that is true now, and it's maybe even exponentially more true now than it was, because there are many cultural conflicts between what society expects or has normalized and what Christians understand as what is right and wrong. And when they run opposed to each other, Christianity is oftentimes seen, Christian teachings is oftentimes seen as something that is bad or beyond the pale hateful. And that's not where we live. And that's not the legacy that Christianity has behind it. It is a legacy of many mistakes, many errors, but also great deeds as well. And the origin of that is the Savior of mankind, Jesus Christ. So Christianity, in many ways, is a reflection of mankind in general. The origin is Jesus, who is God, right? And we lead from there as man. And through the years, we have made several mistakes in Christianity as a whole. But again, where we stand as a society right now, many of the societal norms run in conflict with our own morality, and it's a difficult thing to reconcile. But being firm in your principles and unwavering in them is, when they're biblically founded, is important, and it seems like that's important to Mr. Olasky here, or Olasky here. And like I said, it is very profound. But the part that I worry about, a solidly Christian news publication should not be balanced. Its goal should be provocative and evocative, colorful and gripping, Bible-based news analysis. I don't know where I land on that, because it seems a little bit like there could be a trap there. I do agree about the balance thing. Christianity should only be favoring Christian news publication should only favor what is important to Christians, and it should only promote Christian values. But you also have to do that in a way that also keeps the reader entertained. You can't read something like an automaton. You can't be robotic in your prose. You have to have something that keeps the reader from falling asleep, or will actually catch their eye at all, instead of just groaning and be like, oh gosh. It's like it's another edition of Leviticus. It's a difficult. It seems like it's a difficult line to walk along, and I do think that Christian reporters who are doing their level best to be objective in many respects, but also true to biblical teachings, have a very difficult job to do. And I do have a lot of respect for them. I just don't know who any of them are, because I don't consume this media. That was 1995. So let's fast forward to today. It looks like World has gotten into an opinion, which is a difficult thing to do, because then once you start getting into opinion, you start getting very close, and you're playing with fire, because your opinions may not be biblically grounded. And I'm not sure that it's appropriate to attach the name of Christianity at large to an opinion about something. It's one of my difficulties with Catholicism, because of how the Pope's standing on that, and many times what a Pope might say. I don't think that the Pope really speaks for God, and I think that a lot of times what you see from papal teachings is opinion on that, opinions on social issues that are extraneous to the biblical teachings, and I really don't think that a Pope is supposed to do that. And I'm not saying that um, a Christian news publication has the same weight or influence that the Pope does, but it does carry a large amount of weight because a lot of the folks who are deeply embedded in Christian ministry are probably reading this, and they're getting their news out of this, and it can affect how they learn things. Now, we all should be using our own common sense, but this is where the ground is a little dangerous. So what we have in the end is politics getting in the way of Christian media reporting, and what looks like was a largely respected publication is now going through its own crisis. And I hope for their sake that they come through it um, with the ability to spread the word or to do God's work with their mission of reporting the news and what's important to Christians in um, a way that does Christianity a solid service as opposed to being harmful and taking away from it. Like I said, I can't speak for any publication to let you know that it is something that is worthwhile or not. But when I see strife going on within Christianity, it concerns me. I'm not a Methodist, but when I saw what was going on within the Methodist community, I was deeply saddened by it. I don't believe in or I don't follow all of the teachings or all of the beliefs that go on in the United Methodist Church or whatever the split group from that is. I can't think of that off the top of my head. But they are brothers and sisters in Christ, and I don't feel like their beliefs are very far off from mine. And they're probably right in some ways that I'm wrong, much like I think that they're wrong in ways that I think that I'm right. I don't like seeing it. I want us to be more of I want Christianity to be more of a united thing. But when you have large organizations or organizations that are involved in larger organizations like the evangelical movement, the Baptists, the Presbyterians, the Methodist Church. These are large organizations with their own influences and their own circles and um, their own power structures. You run this risk of disagreement causing strife that impacts the entire Christian community. So, my ultimate takeaways from this is there's not much we can really do except for pray that that the publication will survive and do well and bring glory to God and just wait and see how it turns out. And if people try to take this and be like, "Look, Christians are at each other's throats," ha ha ha. All we can do is be there when those folks are curious about asking us when they hit the conflict in their lives, and they reach out to us, or we get the opportunity to tell them about the glory of God. It's an important thing, obviously. So this has been a long rambling. This hasn't been my best stream, but I saw it today, and like I said, when I see these things pop up in the news, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give my thoughts and feelings on them because, like I said, I consider myself very much a lay person when it comes to Christianity and my beliefs. All my beliefs are rooted in what I'm reading in the Bible. I haven't been to any type of special school. I'm not an expert in biblical history unless you ask me something that's going on in the Bible. So, to all those who are watching this, take comfort in that this isn't the end of the world. I've been alive 38 years, never really known world news, but and so I'm sure that I will be getting along whether if it's around or if it's not around. But I do know that there are folks who have been deeply impacted by world news and found it to be a good publication. So I hope that they're able to continue going on and maybe increase their impact, like I said, in a positive way. In the meantime, folks, take Godspeed. I love you, and I hope God blesses y'all deeply.